Awaken to love.
All right.
What's up, Flint?
Mr. Zen Tempest.
Yo, dude.
Should I call you Gabriel?
The two are one and the same.
Gabriel Rima. Thank you for having me inside of your living room for this podcast session.
Thank you for having me inside of your podcast for this living room session. Stoked. It's a pleasure to look between two leaves at you today.
Is it distracting our view?
No, actually, I find the presence of the plant quite welcoming in the space. What are your thoughts?
I think we can work with it.
Okay. All right.
This is Awaken to Love.
Ooh, I love it.
Episode 6. How does that number sit with you?
I feel great about it, actually. We're filming it in the 6th month of the year.
Indeed.
Feels appropriate.
On June 18th, 2024.
Yeah. It's a good day. It's a good day. 6, there's a lot of 6 energy. The 18 is divisible, is 6 times 3. I'm kind of a number nerd. Number, signs, archetypes. I see things like that. So you asking me, how does that number sit with you? It's actually like, I'll actually ask myself that question and have an answer.
That's what I figured. I kind of sensed that. Yeah. Welcome to Asheville, bro.
Thank you, brother.
You've been living here since just under a month.
Just under a month, man. And, it's kind of a cool story because part of how I became aware of Asheville was I performed at an event called Playthink in Kentucky, which you're just coming from.
Indeed.
Is my understanding.
And that's where I was first exposed to you.
Yeah. So it's a cool full circle moment that you're just coming from there right now. So I was flown out to perform at that festival a few years ago and ended up on this I was just supposed to fly there and then fly back, but then ended up on this whole journey to Fireflies Forest Festival. And then we ended up doing a little pop-up show at this place called Mandala Springs. And that would become where we would host an event, a 9-day transformative retreat for musicians called Vibes, at which you performed, you brought your music, and so that's where we really kind of deepened there. And then of course I saw you in Miami at Art Basel sort of randomly. You're one of those characters who I feel just pops up,
I do be popping up. I'm popping up in your living room with like multiple mic stands, multiple camera tripods, a bunch of lights.
You're quite a magician, man. The way you just kind of all of a sudden my home is a studio, multimedia studio. I'm quite impressed, actually.
Feel free to eat the mic.
Yeah, okay. I'll love it.
There you go. There you go.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll get so intimate
now
and cozy
I can hear
with
you.
this mic. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I love being told what to do by people who know what they're telling me to do.
Well, the Vibes Dojo. That was where, that was a life-changing experience for me, being included in your Vibes music retreat. What was
How
it?
so?
8-9 days.
Tell me about it.
It's like full on. Well, you called me because you noticed that I was rolling around with like a sound system in my car, just at the ready, just in case I needed to throw a party. So you're like, we could probably use a sound guy for the Vibes. And I think I had already reached out like, hey, I see that you're doing this cool thing. Is there any way I can be part of it? I have offerings.
Yeah.
Don't we all have offerings in the spiritual community? It's kind of like a buzzword these days.
Yeah, but you
what
have
are your offerings?
A very tangible set of offerings, actually, I'll say. It's funny, actually. That's a whole rabbit hole to go down. But, I'm like, what are my offerings, right? I teach people, I lead retreats around helping people gain both practical skills with a spiritual context and spiritual skills with a practical context in regards to vocal activation, poetry, rap, spoken word. But even that is like, I have to describe to people, like I could just say I'm a rapper, or I invite people into the process of rap, vocal expression, things like this. You literally, like, you're there, a concert's possible, you're not there, a concert's not, you know what I mean? Because you hold the scaffolding, you hold the, there's there's a circuit of electricity that needs to be completed in order for sound to come out of speakers, and you're that guy. Of course, in addition to all the other wonderful,
the talent itself.
Exactly. But I do have a great deal of reverence for individuals who hold that practical scaffolding and schematic, because I'm more of a social engineer. I threw vibes. I put those people in that room together. I created that lineup. I had like that visionary aspect or element, and there are practical calls and conversations that lead to that being an actual lived reality. But there are I'm not a sound guy. So I actually have a lot of reverence and respect as somebody who needs a sound guy in order to do my thing. I have a lot of respect for that person.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well, I've got tons of respect for you too, man.
Thanks,
I've been
man.
a fan of your music, your work, your rapping, your spoken word, your lyrics, and your whole vibe, if you
Thanks,
will.
bro.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
About that? When you say that to me, like, why? What about who I am, what I do, my music is like who cares? Why is that interesting? Why is that? And there's no wrong answer here, but I'm always curious as because I'm the guy who makes the stuff. I make rap. I'm a rapper because it's what I do at night. And like a spider weaves its web, I create songs, and I have my own story about what this is. But then there are people who are on the receiving end of that, and it's somehow encounter something like value or, so I'm always curious, being the person who's generating the thing, for the people who are receiving the thing, what's, in their words, in their eyes, what's the value there? What's like, I don't know. What has that been like to receive anything that I create? I'm curious.
Well, I think when I first encountered you, I actually mistook you for another artist called Temple Hayes. Have you heard of Temple Hayes?
No,
I had
but
heard
it sounds cool.
I heard a couple of tracks from Temple Hayes, which is like kind of in a similar wheelhouse
Temple Hayes.
as you.
All right, shout out Temple Hayes.
Yeah, but I don't know anything about that artist except I just heard a couple tracks. But then I heard you at Playthink, and I could tell that you were freestyling, and so it was like instantly I was impressed. Just like as soon as somebody is like willing to freestyle like in front of a large crowd, I'm like, that's a cool person. And, beyond that, like you freestyle well, because there's a lot of people who freestyle and it could be like maybe a little repetitive, or you can tell that they're leaning into a lot of crutches, which is, I'm guilty. So guilty in the freestyling.
Hey man, I get it. It's not actually, it's paradoxically incredibly easy and just not easy at all.
Right.
So, and I could talk more about how it's both of those things, right? But like, yeah, and that was actually, I remember I did a freestyle that evening I invited Kiyoshi up on stage, who was also there, and we caught some of that on film, and that was a really beautiful. I have gotten to that place as an individual where I can take that gamble and freestyle on stage and in front of, that's probably one of the largest groups of individuals I've ever freestyled to. And it felt so fun and easy and just let's go. And
it was pretty hype too, I remember that, and just getting to know you more. Well, even on the freestyle thing, like I'm impressed when somebody can freestyle and actually make like cohesive points with what they're rapping about or singing, instead of just like a word and then like another word that's loosely connected, but to make an actual statement in the freestyle flow is like, that's high level freestyling. So, kudos on that. But, getting more into your recorded works, I think one track that really landed and like, I was like, this is deep, was the Jasmine Pedal manuscript.
You mentioned something. So, okay. So yeah. So tell me about that.
Well, it's kind of like a sacred, like sexual song. It gets into some sexual topics.
Yeah, sure.
And
which is not territory I go in often, actually.
Sure.
It's something I'm actually edging into more as an artist. Actually, I touch on it but that's one of the most, that track is a progression of me leaning into that more. I'm a very intellectual being, and it's not that I don't bring up sexuality, but that song was an edge for me,
Yes.
sort of, in creation, which I think is important and cool and noteworthy as an artist, that I'm constantly exploring my edges, as like the art that is most exciting and alive to me is art in which I'm exploring an edge, and that's an example of a song in which I felt like I was exploring an edge personally.
Yeah. And it's very poetic. And I feel like maybe like as a person, as yourself, who has like reproduced and like, created new life. I mean, that's kind of like, to me, that's the point of sex, ultimately.
So I just actually recorded a song about this.
You did?
Yeah, actually. And it's like literally like a week ago. It's called, and I'm almost like hesitant to even bring it up just because I'm not sure if anyone's ever done this before, and I hope it's still a novel transmission. I'm just going to trust and share it either way. The song is called Sex Sells, and it's SEXCELLS. Sex Sells.
Sex sells. Hey.
And it's sex sells. Everything comes from a sex cell. So it's funny that the portal to heaven begets hell. Sex sells. Watches the tongue in the breast swell. If it's wet, then well, have sex. Sex sells. That's a little taste of. I still haven't committed it to memory, but it's the whole thing is a twist on how our sexuality is simultaneous. It's repressed, and then it's sold to us, but its marketability is largely based on how deeply repressed it is. It's like a supply and demand sort of our hypersexualization in our society, as portrayed on the media and things like that, is directly correlated to how deeply our sexuality has been repressed as a society. But the interesting thing about all of that is that somehow in this hypersexualization, we totally lose touch of that sex is primarily, I mean, it's other things, but a mode of that, it's reproduction, right? And so I don't know, that for me, that song is that exploration of that, like, what's going on. It's this double entendre about this hypersexualized, but then you get it. Yeah. There's a sex sells and then sex sells, right? And I love wordplay like that.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear the track.
Yeah. I'm excited to put it out there, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually with Clarity, who I recorded the Jasmine Petal manuscript was also produced by her, and her vocals are featured on that track, and some of her vocals are also featured on this track.
Word. Yeah. Love Clarity. Shout out to Clara. Yeah, Mad love to her production skills. I took her production class earlier this year.
Cool, man. She did vibes with us. Yep.
Learned a few things from her in the production tip, and it was also really cool just to have the camaraderie and the I don't know, meeting up, with other people, learning together. Yeah, that meant a lot for me. But back to you.
No. I mean, hey, dude, it's there's a lot of. It's all an organic conversation, and I think it's really cool. Community is this big part of, like, so for me, Vibes was a call to action to sort of assemble the Justice League, the Avengers, the squad of, I know that there are a lot of people making music and creating new culture and new pathways of culture, using music as a part of that. And I was wanting to sort of call that family home and create a container and like help bring all those superpowers together in a room and like see what would happen if there was a more intentional building around that. So Vibes for me was like bringing that all together. And then, so her container after that, I'm doing a thing called the Flow Dojo. That's sort of my own version of a continuation of a container, like post Vibes. I so long for this communion. I just see so many talented individuals, and I also see a little bit, and I also part of it probably has to do with being a dad, where I'm less able to go to now all these festivals and stuff like that. It's like I really am yearning for more community around stuff, like around the creation process. So I'm really grateful that, that relationships were formed at Vibes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And anytime I'm like, that's the only, that was the first music retreat I was actually able to attend in full. I've been to another one where I just showed up like the day of my class, and that was like the last day of the retreat, because that's just the way my schedule was. That was the Free the Music retreat with Kat Lily and Mateo, Freedom Family Band, if you know them.
Cool. I've heard some things.
Yeah. But like when I get in a space like that with other artists and we're all putting our mental energy to learning and growing, it's like I just wish that was like every day. Like can we all just live together and we're just always keeping this portal open? Like,
it's actually one of the biggest hurts my heart experiences regularly is that it's this thing that happens once in a while. It's like, for me, I really creating like a creative groove and flow state and a pulse around creativity and a communal pulse around creativity. It is one of the biggest missings in my life right now. And I think there's a broader conversation there. It was actually part of why I moved here to Asheville, was to be closer to some collaborative energy. But my creativity is a North Star for me. It guides me. It will bring me to, it brought me to Kentucky, that brought me here to, like, I wouldn't be in Asheville right now. Actually, if I go upstream about how I got here, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my musical path. And I think there are a few things that are like that for people. Music or your passion, work or love are usually like the three. Maybe there's a few other things, a work opportunity, a lover, or like chasing your dream are things that are going to take you to a new place, And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to this new place to follow this thing. You have to have your North Star as an individual, and
for sure.
For me, music is a big, I'm all in spiritually on my music.
I sense that, man. I feel that.
Yeah, it's like I want to be even more all in, is how all in I am. It's like if I could figure out, and that's a whole other conversation too, like the financial, how to. I'm still at a point as an individual. I mean, I'm getting there because I'm starting to offer containers where containers creating community around music so far has been the most semi-lucrative thing I've done in relationship to music in terms of just creating music. And I'm not like, I haven't really tried my hand at like touring, which I understand is like how a lot of people make their money. In terms of just creating music, I definitely put way more money into creating music, to getting my music, mastered and things like that than I have received finances at this point. So it's like, it's an interesting conversation. I'm not a sound guy, right? So that's an example where you, for example, I'm sure have found some way to kind of subsidize. Well, then of course you perform multi-instruments. I think it's different for me. I'm just a rapper. So I don't you can't book me as like a DJ band thing. It's, I don't know, it's a little bit different.
Well, you're also not background music as a rapper, and so for me, that's been like part of my path has been like playing in like bars and kava bars where people might appreciate it, but a lot of them are just like talking over it while I'm performing. So and I've kind of I've become like really used to that. To the point, and I mean, I am an ambient artist as well. I create ambient music, and so that is like the definition of essentially background music.
Right.
But coming into more of somebody who can hold space as like a front man and like engage the audience, that has been my personal edge. Like actually coming out and making a direct connection with the audience and the listeners. That's and I think I'm getting there. You know, I'm coming to it, but it's still like some people that's what they do. That's their whole thing is like jumping up there and like riling people up.
It's a very different. I will say that's it's a very different energy. I mean, I think both have their place. So it's like when you look at like the history of different kind of musical lineages, and I'm not like, I couldn't speak to this, like I can only speak to this from my own kind of interpretation of what I see or piece together. I'm not like a musical historian or anything like that. But so, and just like common sense making, right? So it's like, to me, it makes sense that there are different types of music and different ways we enjoy music. Like you like, I love just ambient music, like at a party, someone just like playing just some lovely, beautiful sounds, you know, in the background. And that's not, in that environment, I don't want that to command my attention.
Right. There's value
but it's still so valuable, actually. And there's value in it not occupying my attention. There's value in it being a lubricant energetically for all these other things going on in the space. There's valor and beauty in it not being egocentric in that sense. Then there's music that's very single pointed, sort of egocentric, not egocentric in a negative way, but it's like you do go there to like, we're not having a conversation right now. Like what's happening where the energy is around is like that individual right there and that band and what they're doing and bringing through. And I have found rap is one of those things. I would go, you know, when I would go to a rap show as a teenager, like I'm listening.
Dude, you didn't let me know I had an avocado sticker on my shoulder.
Oh, bro. I mean, I just thought you were fresh. I just thought you were coming fresh off the lot, dog.
All right, we're gonna have to start over. I'll get the AI to like. I'll get some AI special effects to just edit.
I just think it's a dope little, you know. I just think it's a nod to how organic you keep it.
Am I looking okay right now? Am I fresh?
I think you look delightful, actually. I'm enjoying how your shirt matches your skin tone and eye color. It's a good look.
Thank you. Yeah. I like the sprout jar over there. You got some sprouts in the window.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't think our viewers have the privilege to see it, but
I'll point it. I'll get a little footage later.
But yeah, it's just photosynthesizing. Shout out to photosynthesis, the process through which plants convert the sun into sugars.
I thought it was the process in which photos are synthesized.
I mean, comme ci, comme ça, you know, same diff, you know. It's the content that a photo becomes has to come from somewhere. All energy's on a journey from somewhere to somewhere. Temporarily takes a pit stop as us via the avocado. We get an avocado, keep the sticker, eat it, pass it through us. We make some sounds, do some cool things.
Let the avocado become you.
Yeah, man.
I love avocados. Bruh.
So good. So good.
That's why I live in Florida. You know, it's all about the avocados and the coconuts.
Florida is one of the most, like, I've never lived in Florida, but I imagine it's one. I've spent a lot of time in Costa Rica, Mexico, Guatemala, avocado places. I imagine Florida's one of the closest things to an avocado place in the United States.
Yeah.
Semi-tropical.
Yeah, we got avocados, you know?
Yeah, dude. It's a vibe.
especially coconuts. That's where my sweet spot is. I love those coconuts. And they produce all year round. So that's like the other beautiful part is that you don't have to wait for coconut season. It's just constantly rotating. If you got one tree that has mature ones, there's another one with babies coming right around the corner. Oh yeah, I love those coconuts.
Ooh.
I get my machete every morning. I go out back to my backyard. My coconut trees are still short. I can just reach up with my hand and twist it off, or I can whack.
You literally
whack
just
the
are
stem.
growing coconuts in your backyard?
I do have multiple trees fruiting with coconuts now. I planted them all.
That's dope,
It's
dude.
a blessing.
That's a flex, bro.
It's a flex.
It's a chill flex.
I'm known to flex.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's also just
Clearly.
like a true blessing, you know?
yeah, no, pardon me. That's nature flex. That's a nature flex.
Like today,
you're the recipient of nature's flex.
Now that I'm traveling in Asheville, like I went to the store and I bought a small carton of coconut milk, and
Oof.
I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I can't wait to be home. What am I doing here?
Blessing. What a blessing, man.
I hack it open with my machete. I pour the juice out, you know, the coconut water.
Wow.
I scrape the meat out. You know, you blend it up, you strain the pulp. Unless it's a really young coconut, then you can just blend it. You can just drink it like that if you want. If the jelly's really, you know, really perfect. Anyway, I love that stuff.
Yeah, bro.
I was gonna relay a little anecdote though about
Sure.
the jasmine petal manuscript.
Yeah.
And like even when I said how reproduction, that's what sex is for, I feel like there's this whole movement of people who are kind of like, that's not what sex is only for. You know, people are really about like owning their pleasure and you know, finding power in their own like erotic experience, and that is what it is. I'm not really going to speak much to that because I really feel like people tend to forget that sex is baby making. And I think if people thought about that more, then they might make more like, you know, well thought out decisions in their lives a lot of times. So we're getting into some controversialness.
I notice as we get, my tendency is to walk towards
The controversy.
the heat.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I notice as you say that, I'm like, not that what we've been talking about up till now has been boring per se, but the contrast of like, when you talk about that, I notice there's a magnetic, the potential for polarity in what you just said has a magnetic excitation to it.
Yes.
So what you just said, I'm like, ooh, that's either people are gonna like that or not like that, what you just said. And I'm kind of like noticing, you know, what comes up for me. And I think it's fascinating how people ride that. I think one of the most dysfunctional aspects of our society is our tendency to so quickly hyperpolarize around things like that, and this unwillingness to come to a consensus or try and see the other side of something. So my nature is a bit of a bridge builder, and so I'm excited when someone, I guess that's what I'm saying is I'm excited when something has that magnetic, because to me, there are different ways people deal with that charge. People either kind of like repress it, they like go the other way, or they go into battle. For me, I just listen. I'm just like, oh, there's like some charge there. That's like probably some ancestral stuff. That's probably some stuff that would serve us to work through moving forward as a collective. And if nothing else, there's charge there. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, and I think life, we should follow safely where there is charge.
Yeah.
Because there's something there for us there. So I intuit when you speak, and I notice like I'm like, cool. I think we should maybe talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. And I do, it can be easy for me to get up in arms about some of these topics. But, I think I do pretty well to remain like respectful. And it's like, I don't want to tell people what to do, but I do have a lot of opinions.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't really like to keep them to myself.
Well, and this is America.
Yeah, sure.
America. You can say, you know what I mean? It's cool to have opinions here.
Yeah.
And you can, that's rad.
And even like with these spiritual posts about like Christ that you're aware that I've been making recently, like there's so much charge with these responses and these comments that people are giving, and it's like I see a lot of people who are really ready to fight me about it just because I brought it up in the first place. And they're kind of like assuming that I'm on like a certain side of it.
Yeah.
And really, I really do just enjoy like stirring the pot and sparking up conversations.
Sure.
And ultimately it's like, I think for me, I'm always looking for like, where's the lightning rod of pure truth? Because I feel like the most truthful things are things that like bring us together ultimately. Rather than dividing us. So, but these charged topics that can be polarizing, it's like it can be an opportunity for us to find out where the other person is at. And sometimes people just have to like say their piece before they're willing to be like, I'm sorry for being so rude, I appreciate for saying what you said, and I understand that you have your valid perspective. Like a lot of times we do come to that part, but sometimes there has to be like a little bit of an argument first, or a debate, where people just have to be heard. Some people just want to be heard, and there's we all have like our trigger points. But
I think particularly online it gets really interesting. I think I wish we were just able to hold complex conversations better.
Well, that's what podcasts are for.
In general, I do. I feel like, so that's what I feel like, having this conversation here. And the funny thing is, we haven't I sort of trust us to hold whatever occurs, regardless of our level of seeing eye to eye or not. Like, I feel so much just love and kinship with you that I trust that. And I love kind of in this way, not knowing sort of where each other stands on certain subjects or whatever, to just allow that organic to see, like, maybe can we just like if we encounter some edges like that, can we just model what it's like for two people to hold one another in slightly, maybe just even potentially opposing views? Because that's the thing, is two people automatically come to this opposition. That's what I'm saying, is online, there's no real way to sense make and hold space, and like writing one comment and then another comment. It's not an actual functional way to really make any progress or work our way through any of these. Like a lot of it is just like virtue signaling, like, I want people to see that I'm woke, have the superior opinion. I want the moral, I want to feel like I don't even fully understand what it is, but it's not often very productive, right? On like a Facebook post, but or something like that.
It can be. I've seen people come together, and come back to the respectful angle.
Sure.
Well, so the first time I heard the Jasmine Pedal Manuscript, your song, I was at a flow jam in Florida. We have tons of flow jams, which, for people who are not familiar, there's this whole culture of flow arts where people are like spinning hula hoops and spinning poi, which is like a ball on a string. They have really fancy tricks with all these props, and fire spinning is like part of it. People do like dancing and spinning with fire props. this is all part of the flow arts. And in Florida, we have like this very thriving, incredibly thriving flow arts community where like even in my small town in Fort Pierce, we have like the best flow jam every Friday. It's like the best one that I know of. It's my favorite one. And there's people even like making like, you know, part of a living like throwing flow jams, and the rest of their living like doing flow arts gigs where they're spinning fire for like parties that are high end and stuff like this. So it's amazing to see that this is happening in Florida of all places where I live. And I've gotten really connected with this community because I love playing with hula hoops myself. I love the whole scene. I love to dance. I love to play music for these events because I'm just like in the vibe with them. Anyway, so I was like casually DJing a flow jam, and I think I was just using my iPhone for this one. Not even like a real DJ deck or anything, but yeah, I saw that you had your new song out. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a chance with this one.
You just threw it on?
Yeah.
Without listening to it first?
Wow, at a flow jam. And there was like kids around, not a lot, but it was a couple. There was a wide range of ages.
Sure.
And and the most reaction that I got was actually someone like, you know, in my age range, the young lady who was like co-facilitating the flow jam. You know, probably
I imagine she felt a
mid-twenties.
sense of responsibility.
She wasn't like upset or anything, but she was just like,
interesting.
Flint, what is this?
What is
like,
this?
what are you playing? Because it said clitoris, you know?
Right. Well, that is the word. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like she like couldn't believe that this music was playing.
Sure.
And I was just taking it in like, okay, this is charged, you know? But at the same time, like, when do you ever hear a rap song addressing this realm of thought and this topic like in like such a poetic and like sacred kind of take? Like so much rap, if there's sex involved, it's crass.
Right.
It's like we know what it's all about. Like in the mainstream world of pop music. So yeah, I was like, but you know, Alyssa, but like listen, like what he's saying is, it's not this is some good stuff. It's a piece of poetry, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was my anecdote about that.
Yeah. What were her actual like words, or what was the energy?
I think she
of
was
her
just
response?
like, what is this?
What is this?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
She didn't tell me to turn it off.
It was a pattern interrupt. Yeah,
totally. Like it caught a lot of people's ears.
Well, I think it is as a piece. Because it's hard to describe like what I'm even making. I mean, the closest thing I'm calling it is like rap. You know what I mean? That's kind of spoken word, poetry, rap, but it's also like, it's like somewhere between. Some songs are more, I don't know. It feels a little bit trailblazing. Like there's a beat, it's spoken word, it's rap, but it's also like, it's something else. And so it is a pattern interrupt because the mind is sort of like, what am I listening to?
You really gotta like take it in and kind of assess it and figure out what is going on here.
Yeah. So I think as far as that song goes, one could make an argument for there being certain places it would be more or less appropriate, but I do think just the nature of the transmission of itself, it's a very benign, innocent transmission, and it's really just about honoring the feminine, which is, I think, something that has been historically suppressed for the past several hundred, if not several thousand years.
You know, if there's any other piece of work that I could compare it to, is maybe some of Outkast's stuff, like on Stankonia. Is that the album?
That's cool.
The one that had Miss Jackson.
Yeah, sure.
You know, there's some Stank Love. Where do I end? Where do you begin? You know, stuff like that. You know that track I'm thinking of? Yeah. Some of Outkast's work has gone to that kind of area where it's like we're actually respecting like the beauty and the sacredness of the human connection between two souls. You know, moving beyond like the standard booty shaking, like, you know, all that garbage.
Yeah. I'm actually, for me, my growth edge is, it's funny, like as an artist, I'm trying to find now this new synthesis where it's like, I kind of am trying to find, everything has its pendulum swing. So I think we had this hyper have this hyper like patriarchal society that where like the feminine was totally suppressed. So we went in this major one direction with like this masculine repressing the feminine. Then there's like a little bit of this pendulum swing of, you know, some of the modern-ish, you know, feminine movements. I think we're kind of working through it a little bit, but then there was like this backlash that totally really, I think, suppressed a lot of masculine expressions in an attempt to sort of like equalize, right? There's like a pendulum swing, but then you get a generation of sort of, like, sorry to say it, like weak, ultra spiritual men who are sort of disconnected from their penis, you know, like they're, you know, they're fuck, they're, you know, they're spiritual. There's a certain masculine, there's a baby out with the bathwater that occurs as we're attempting to then find like a real synthesis where the men are wielding their masculine power. They're not afraid of their masculine power, but they're also not abusing it. And so I feel like now that's where I'm trying to find this place with my music where I feel like I never went anywhere in this like disrespectful realm, because I was much more of the artist who was trying to like remedy that with this hyper sensitized realm. And now I am trying to find this balance where it feels intellectual, sensitive, empowering, but also bring a little reclaim a little more of the flavor and the sauce, and make it kind of a little bit sexier in a way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, well,
but righteous, you know what I mean? It's like finding that perfect balance point integration.
I think part of like what you're touching on is like, you know, how many times have we heard the phrase toxic masculinity in the past few years? Like huge. How many times have we ever heard of toxic femininity? No, nobody's allowed to say that. Right. The feminine is the goddess in this world today. Right. And, you know, everybody's obsessed with how bad the patriarchy has been. Right. And then, you know, we have a little bit of balance where people talk about the divine masculine. You know, some ladies are trying to like, okay, we don't need to just bash women. We can talk about like how men can be more divine. And so that's a whole thing. I don't really know what to say about that, except that, you know, just hearing about like fuck the patriarchy I've heard it so much that it just feels a little bland at this point. Like where's the fresh input? Well,
so yeah. So I think a big complaint of like, gosh, I'm not like a scholar, but I think it's like second wave feminism is like that it's essentially patriarchy packaged and effeminized in a more like quote unquote feminine packaging, but it's still this dominance over. So it's like women saying fuck the patriarchy. It's kind of like this like masculine suppression through force energy that's not actually feminine energy. So it's not actually feminism, right? It's like it's like a weird sort of because it's product of the feminine trying to reclaim femininity, but through the patriarchal lens, right? Through the patriarchal distortion field. So what we're looking for is this like transcendent third, that it's like, I can trust your masculinity, your strength, your firmness, your capacity to like hold space, boundaries, your capacity to get shit done, you know, like, and I can trust your sensitivity and your softness and your capacity to feel things fully. And, you know, it's like, we're finding this synthesis that, it's like the best of both worlds. I think it's possible.
It's totally possible, man. And I think we're moving towards it, you know? And there's so many pockets of culture, like especially in Asheville, there's like, it's just its own little world of cultural thought, where some people are like moving past like the general take of like wokeness or whatever, and they are able to accept like what other people are rejecting. They're able to see things in a more broad, like zoomed out perspective. I want to share something personal.
Yeah,
that
sure.
I haven't shared publicly on the internet.
Wow, cool. I feel honored.
I think that part of what I am doing personally to reclaim my masculinity with dignity and self-control and self-discipline. I have completely given up masturbation.
Wow.
And like ejaculation. I didn't really like think of like what the date of when that began, but it's been like maybe almost a month or around a month. And so, beyond that, I have decided that my next partner is going to be my wife. I'm looking for my forever life partner. And with that, I'm also saving my next orgasm for my wife.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at with things. I'm not going to have sex until I get married. And I'm looking for the right person who is on that same tip and appreciates that. And I don't really see myself turning back from that. And I was telling my friend about this, and he's like, "Well, just be careful because you might be like easily frustrated. Like you might catch yourself getting like more frustrated about little things or like." And I don't know, that could be true, but I think, to be honest, I've been more balanced and level-headed than I ever have been. And I've mostly cut out like cannabis too, and I still appreciate it, but I've really reduced it from where it used to be like a daily kind of like automatic habitual thing, just so it was always comfortable. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. How does it feel to speak about that?
It feels cool, I don't know. Yeah, I've had like I have another friend who was well, even with like semen retention, I have practiced that in the past, but with like kind of edging, and I was still masturbating and just trying not to orgasm. Now I'm not even going there. And beyond that, like I'm also like very uninterested in any kind of media or content that is like trying to allure me into like any like I don't really want to see people that are just like showing off their sexuality on the internet. I've been unfollowing people if that's like their main angle on socials. So yeah, I'm just kind of moving beyond that, and yeah, I even had to like remove a track that I had released from the internet just because I'm like, I'm not really there. It was an innocent song. It was just fun and like goofy, but like still, I'm like, it's not really me right now. So yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at, because all my past relationships that I've been in with like girlfriends or whatever have been like, we kind of pretty much got sexual like right away, and then we're navigating that energy while we're still getting to know each other, which is fine. It is what it is, but being raised Catholic, that was the way I was taught, was like save sex for marriage. And like I'm pretty sure 0% of anyone that I knew that was raised that way actually practiced that. Pretty sure everyone in my school or my church or whatever, like we all, like, who really does that? I know one person that I didn't know as a kid, but I know one person who's in his 30s and is still a virgin. And I've actually been wanting to like connect with that individual because when I met him, I could tell that he had kind of like a lot of self-consciousness and like just felt like he felt weird about being a virgin still in his 30s. And I want to let him know that, like, dude, you're a rare specimen, and I think that, you can use where, like, what, like, you need to honor that, you need to appreciate that is like pretty special. and unheard of. And, you know, once you meet the right woman who like appreciates that, you know, maybe there's another lovely lady out there who's like, maybe she's not in her 30s, maybe she's in her 20s, and she still thinks because of all the girls that she knows, they're all flexing their sexuality. Maybe she feels weird that she still hasn't had sex, and maybe once you guys meet, you know, you could realize that like you have a real chance to like have like a very fresh start with each other that nobody in the world hardly ever has anymore, at least in Western culture. So I want to like, that's the thing, since I've never tried this, how many times have I had relationships where I fell in love with someone and sex was involved, and finally I want to experience a relationship where we can fall in love with each other and make a really profound decision of uniting and save sex for like once it's official.
Yeah. It's like a second virginity. It feels like a reclaiming of virginity, which is actually. So I'm a Virgo in astrology, which is represented by the archetype of a virgin, but it's, you know, archetypes are real throughout time. So it's the eternal virgin. It's the essence of the virginal, as it weaves through all beings. And so it's like, it's been an interesting thing that the relationship with like purity. And so this idea of never, and I'm also actually quite a sexual being.
As we are all, you know, inherently.
Right. And so there's a holding of this paradox, and there's again, when we're talking about this pendulum swing, I think we went so deep into suppression of sexuality that there has been a huge cultural upswell of what could be described as promiscuous and sometimes sexuality lacking like discernment, right? Because we're attempting to, anything that's suppressed will oftentimes violently resurface, and when I'm at like erupt. So not violent as in involving violence, though sometimes can. I mean, forcibly. The further you push something down, the further it's going to erupt as a matter of cause and effect, right? So I think like this energy of sexuality has come up for air in a big way after a number of years of like, you know, kind of baked into the history of our country. You know, there's like this puritanical ethos where sexuality was really deeply repressed. And so I think there's a re-emergence of sexuality. And I think the de-shaming of sexuality is an important step in terms of the reclamation of sexual energy in our culture, in our society. And with that, when we're talking about that pendulum swing, there's invariably going to be a sort of a clumsiness around that rediscovery of sexuality, because it's so. This is what I'm kind of talking about with the sex cells track I was talking about, where when you repress, it's like in cultures where sexuality is less vilified, or take alcohol for example, cultures where you're allowed to, like Italy or various places around the world, where it's not that strange for somebody to have a glass of wine at a much younger age. Alcohol is integrated more intentionally into the culture. So since there's less of a taboo around it, there's actually less, ironically, alcohol abuse in those cultures because of the way it's introduced. So same with sexuality, I think, because now it's sort of in vogue or hip to like be hypersexual, that's okay. People are like, you know, because that's been so pushed down. And I think, again, it's a pendulum swing. There's sort of like a necessary step, but ultimately there is this sexuality. I think what I'm really hearing is this reclamation of the sacredness of sexuality, and that you're right. It's not a game. This isn't to say that now I want to be clear about this actually, because this is a point where I think you and I could have a little bit of this dance, right, that we were talking about, where there's this sort of, I don't even know if it's an agree to disagree, but it's a let's sort of look at something and dance around this point and see if we can do it, harmoniously. Sure. in a way that we might see things a little bit differently, because I actually don't think the sole purpose of human sexuality is to conceive. I think it's absolutely like integral and essential, and having actually conceived a child, I'm like intimately aware of that faculty of the human human sexuality. I think there are other aspects to human sexuality and the way that it functions within the societal collective, the superorganism that is us, right? That is not solely about procreation. I think it's essentially I think it's a battery. So I think sexuality is a battery. So it's a way that we can charge one another. And I actually believe there's a social, and this is where it could get into some really sort of controversial territory. And it's, if I look back, and I've done a little bit of examination about the history of human sexuality. And so what this implies about our future, the future of human sexuality, is actually not what I'm discussing. But if I'm looking back at the history of our sexuality, there have been other human sexual models in place that have created social coherence in a more, in other words, to put it like kind of bluntly, this construct of monogamy has been a somewhat recent development, evolutionarily speaking, and there's like, it's pretty well documented, and I can name a couple references about like how historically various other cultures in the world have had different ways of sharing sexuality within a community as a means of creating tribal cohesion and coherence, and sort of like, it's no shock or mystery that when we have sex with somebody, there's a flood of bonding chemicals with that individual. Right. So we feel closeness with them. So when we were living in hunter-gatherer, more tribal societies, actually the more individuals that had healthy sexual relationships within a tribal band, the more pathways of those bonding sexual chemicals. And now obviously certain things like I'm not talking about incest or anything like that, but there were more complex social molecules involving the exchange of sexual energy that helped create cohesion in hunter-gatherer bands of tribal societies historically.
Are you saying that they were all having sex with each other?
Not all, like there were, I mean, not all of them, but like, so this is where I wasn't exactly there, but there is like a broad body of knowledge. For one book, for example, is a book called Sex at Dawn, which talks about how a lot of people liken us to chimpanzees, and that's true. We're equidistant relatives to chimpanzees who display more monogamous pair bonding. Mm-hmm. And bonobos who display sexual activity that's much more multi-dimensional. Homosexuality, for example, is a thing that are displayed in bonobos, and so our genes we're equidistant between chimps and bonobos, and we display certain So not even talking about our monkey relatives, or our ape relatives, but talking about literally just our relatives ancestrally. Like there are literally cultures among us on the planet right now who, like certain African cultures, like I think it was like Eskimo cultures. And I'm by all means, I'm not like a scholar on this, but I have like read some books and ingested some information because human sexuality is something I'm really curious about, where there are cultures that exist right now and have existed where there's a different geometry of sexuality that is allowed, and I could talk about some of those, what some of that looks like. But yes, there are cultures, historically functional cultures, that have used sexuality as a bonding glue and an agent, and it's interesting to learn about, to become educated about.
You're saying that there's some human cultures that are more polyamorous, some that are more monogamous.
Yeah,
Totally. Historically.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that in some of these more polyamorous cultures, it's actually basically like, so just think about this, like a little thought concept. And I'm not saying that this applies to, like, I'm saying just toss it over in your head for a sec, right? So let's say we lived in a world that was very different in terms of our economic model, things like this. Like, it's a very different world from the world we're living in right now. And think about if there was a woman and you and another man who you were also very close with were both attracted to this woman and both shared sexual energy with this woman, right? At around the same time, such that you didn't know who the child was, right? Because of that, and you're in a hunter-gatherer, so it's not like, so this is what I mean, is that it's not like this where you're not like coming over to my house, you know, having sex with my partner and then like leaving and like going somewhere. Like we're part of a small band of ride or die. Like basically this construct of relationship, how we're in these like relationships. We were in relationships with groups of people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was never this thing of this nuclear family in hunter-gatherer societies where it was two people and they were the hunter-gatherer, they were the band, right? There was always a larger group of individuals. And so within that larger group of individuals, we would co-rear children together. So it was never, ever just two people raising a child together. It was always a community and a group of individuals. So
it takes a village.
Yeah. And so there was just this sense of the more love and the more investment and the less paternal certainty that there was in this smaller group of individuals, the more it was like this child is everyone's son, is everyone's daughter, right? And because of that, there was a more of a shared sense of responsibility and accountability around these things. And again, I'm not saying I understand how this applies to now this new world that we've created. I'm literally just talking about what has been displayed historically in terms of what made sense in the world back then for these hunter tribal gatherer societies. We live in a very different world now. So
word. Yeah. Well, I can definitely appreciate what you said about like the bonding aspect of like the orgasm. You know, that like conception doesn't have to be the only reason to have sex. And especially like, because if I was to say that like that sex is only for reproduction, then that would be like, well, what about people that just, you know, can't conceive or are uninterested in reproducing? I mean, you know, I'm not going to tell those people like, well, then don't have sex, you know? So that's fair. That's fair. And we all are God's children.
But the preciousness, I think, what you're talking about around this, I think I hugely agree and support with this idea of whatever sexual model like makes sense to you, that's a sacred thing to share with another person. That is not a thing that should be just given away without discretion.
Right.
Especially because it's connected to that even if your goal isn't to have a child, like that's still that potential. That's still what that is you know, within you, you're half of that potential kinetic life force energy. And now it's like, you know, I have a child. She's, you know, my sex cell met another sex cell. And now that individual is an individual. Like she's growing, learning, has an entire life ahead of her.
Yeah. She has her own will.
Yeah. And that's, you do have an appreciation for, because here's one thing that's not a mystery is how strong the sexual impulse is, right? How strong that sexual impulse is. And so then when you think about its connectivity to life, like it kind of makes sense. Like it almost, until you like, there's a circuit that's completed once you conceive, because you kind of get on the other end of that. Oh, now I get why that impulse is so strong. There's like sort of a little bit of a mystery to, you just feel this yearning, but you don't see the end, you know, you don't see where that yearning is taking us until you actually have a child. Then you're kind of like, oh, I get it. Like that's why that feels that way inside of me, because that's like literally how a human, you know, happens.
That's where we come from.
Yeah, it's wild. Anyway, I'll share that feels a little like vulnerable to share some of this, that somehow, even though I don't even feel like I shared that much like opinion as much as just literally stuff I've read about the history of our sexuality, but it's so taboo that even just sharing, I feel in what I perceive as like a somewhat non-polarizing manner, like still feels like vulnerable of like, how is that going to be perceived by somebody watching this? Or, you know, like I'm noticing how still sensitized and alive that like, I'm not going to call it shame because it doesn't feel like shame, but how aware I am, because we're social beings, right? And I think part of our design is to be sensitized to the impact of how we show up in the world. It's sociology 101. We adapt our behavior in response to how we believe that behavior is going to be received, sometimes to a fault. And that's what's called people pleasing, right? The nice guy syndrome, which is something I've been historically a victim to and is something that I'm actually trying to break out of. So it's just interesting, that level of awareness of like, I just spoke about kind of non-typical sexuality in a world that's ruled by a different paradigm. And I'm aware that that just happened, you know, and it was filmed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what podcasts are for. I mean, I would be so bored if I just did all this effort to create a podcast and then like all we talked about was like the normal things that everyone says. Like I want to get to the crux of the matter. I want to like come up with some thoughts that will give people actual food for thought, you know, and maybe further the conversation culturally, ideally. You know, I think that's where the real value is. Yeah. We're not just here to like repeat the same old things.
Sure. Yeah, I like that actually when you say that, and I've been consuming a lot of podcasts. And,
which ones do you like to listen to?
I'm particularly really tuned into two podcasts right now. One is the Aubrey Marcus podcast, and the other is a podcast called Know Thyself with a man named Andre Decum. And yeah, what I notice is, there are similar themes, and it's good that you say that, what you just said about recontextualizing that sort of hesitancy to like go, because even in what I shared, there's still a bit of I still feel like I could get edgier.
Yeah.
But I don't want, you know, there's a balance there when you're on an edge, because you want to, and this is something I talk about in the Flow Dojo, which is this container I'm opening for people who, I'm inviting people into authentic and embodied self-expression, right? So I would be full of shit if I didn't come on, you know, didn't walk that talk,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to authentic and embodied self-expression, there is a little bit of a fine line, because we all know what it's like to have that vulnerability hangover of sort of oversharing, right? And so, or sharing something in an environment where maybe it actually wasn't fully safe to share that thing, or like, you know, you're kind of like, oh, you know, it popped out and you're like, oh, I regret that, you know? So we have a very, very, and again, it's evolutionary. Our filtration system is very finely tuned from an evolutionary perspective to not share things that are going to out us from a majority. Because again, bringing back to our hunter-gatherer society, being outed as the weird, if you were too weird, if you were like, oh, that person is obviously at odds with the collective paradigm, that could actually result in death, because we were in tribal bands. So you wouldn't make it very long as an individual in in this time, right? So anyway, so there is a fine line I talk about in the Flow Dojo of letting it rip, being open, honest, transparent, authentic, and you're like, there's you also want to honor yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And even still, you know, it's like, it's fair to say that you might say something and then change your mind about it at a later date, you know, so.
Right. It's an exploration.
Yeah.
I'm the first one to say, I don't have any of this figured out.
Right.
I'm so the biggest idiot in the room, but I'm like, but my wisdom comes from a willingness to admit that, you know, like to be in the exploration with another.
And I think that if there's anybody listening who has made it this far in the podcast, they're not going to suddenly be like, fuck that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Because they're already like on this ride. They sense how we are. You know, we're just doing our best to explore the nature of the universe.
Yeah, man. For sure.
I think we would have weeded out the Neanderthals at this point.
That's funny. That's really funny, especially considering the conversation. Neanderthal, tribal, hunter-gatherer society. Okay, so you just said something cool about where my mind went was like almost wanting to bring it back to music. So, because you're talking about, we're all just trying to figure out like the meaning of the universe or whatever, right? So like, why are you and I both like obsessed with like music? Like making music. And I guess for, you know, I can answer this question for me, but so now I'm here with you, this other individuation of source consciousness. Like what's your thing with music? Like why are you so into music? And then it's like so interesting, compelling, worth your time that you travel with all this instrumentation and you've devoted yourself to this learning this insanely cool instrument. Like what's music do for you? You know,
I think it's the spiritual aspect of it. Even if some of my music isn't like overtly spiritual, it doesn't have to be like lyrically focused on a spiritual topic, but just even instrumental music, which I make lots of, without any lyrics. I think that music has an inherently spiritual quality to it. And yeah, I'm trying to think back to like my earliest, like I think in 8th grade, I had a band with some of my classmates, and that's when I kind of decided that I wanted to pursue music as like a life path. And partially it's because my dad has always been a professional musician, so when I was a kid, he was gigging like a lot of nights out of the week. It just was kind of like a given. Like it was easy to understand that music could be something that someone does as a job or whatever. And even with that, like I would talk to like other classmates and their only concept of music would be like MTV and like pop stars and stuff. So they would be like, well, you know, like, does your dad have like songs on the radio and stuff? I'd be like, well, I don't know. He might have been played on the radio a couple times, but no, he's just playing gigs. You know, he plays in bars and stuff. He plays in bands, and he records music in his studio, and he has clients, you know, who he like records for them. So I had like a pretty broad understanding of like different ways to work in music, but I really didn't care about too much of my dad's music. Like it didn't, like his music didn't really touch me. So
where did it land for you?
Yeah, where did it land for me?
But that is an important piece, that it's part of a lineage.
That's the context,
right? That you inherited that lineage, because some people it's the opposite. Some people fight against stream.
Right.
Some people are like, they have the parents who are like, don't become a musician, become a lawyer or whatever. But there was an inheritance of a lineage of music. So that's cool.
I did follow in my father's footsteps in some ways. Yeah. And you know, I've strove. I've been striding along, just striving to, you know, maybe outpace even where my dad has gone, and you know, like make my old man proud. You know. Yeah. Like show him that I can learn from what he did and go a little further. Hopefully, like way further, exponentially further would be the end goal. Yeah. If there's an end goal, you know, I hope that by the time that when I pass into the next realm, I hope that I have touched many souls, and I hope that I've created music that will continue to touch people even when I'm gone, and that my legacy will still benefit people. But I'm thinking of this one moment when I was still really new at music. I didn't play the Chapman stick yet, but I was playing some guitar. And I came up with like what I thought of as like a song. It was just a few chords. It was just like a chord progression and like a way to play it, like the inflection of the chords and like some finger picking or whatever. Like I came up with something that felt like, hey, this is like, I came up with this. You know, I came up with this thing. And I showed it to my stepsister. And she was just, to me, it was like a little exaggerated. I'm like, well, it wasn't this good. But like, you know, there was a moment where...
So she really received it.
She really received it. And she was like, that's so beautiful. Like that, it made me cry, you know, just like playing the guitar, not even singing. And I was feeling the goosebumps too by showing it to her. But I felt like she was giving me too much credit, and I think, you know, maybe I'm underselling her because to her it really touched her, and she really had a strong experience with it. And for me, I'm just like, well, it's, you know, it's just a little something, but still, I felt the goosebumps too. And so I think just realizing the capacity to connect with another human being on a soul level kind of really instilled me like the spiritual quality of music, and beyond that, like you know, a connection to God, you know, I think is possibly like the highest expression of music, you know, connecting me and other people to the higher power. So I think that's what keeps me going, is the power of that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I ask because it's something I frequently, again, like I guide people into this, you know, into rap, into music, and then sometimes I have to, just because it's what I do and what I've fallen in love with, and then sometimes I have to ask myself, oh yeah, like what am I guiding people into, or what does it mean to me? Because what's self-evident to me is that it's a yes. So that's like, it just feels good to me. But then at times when I'm inviting people into this, when I'm trying to market what I'm doing or share about what I'm doing on social media, or even trying to re-anchor it in for the people who've already enrolled in my program or my coaching, it's like I need to become reacquainted with this thing that I just am on autopilot in love with, but I have to like re-examine, like, wait, why am I in love with it? Why am I doing this? Especially sometimes when it gets hard, or I'm like, again, spending all this money on mastering and stuff because I just love it, and it's, you know, but it's not So I have to like be like, okay, what is this thing? And I feel like that kind of, you mentioned that, you know, the goosebumps, right? The moment when it's like, when it hits, and like for me, I have made myself cry listening back to a song I've made, or writing I actually had a moment the other night, actually last night. Was it last night? This could have been last night, 2 nights ago. Very recently, I was writing. There's a couple examples, actually. I felt a lot of energy move when I was writing the Jasmine Petal manuscript, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful, and I talk about that in my course, actually, the Flow Dojo, because it's a cool example of those words just like fluttered through my mind, and I caught them, and I was like, oh, that's something. Right. Mm-hmm. And this is where part of it is this fun game of hide and go seek with the muse and with source. Yeah. And so you hear these, I heard the Jasmine Petal manuscript, and that song didn't exist yet at that moment, but the potential, a future potential of that song existed just in those words. So the artist is in this like cosmic Easter egg hunt, right? Kind of with art. Right. And they're trying to find the most beautiful thing. They're trying to engage in the co-creation of the most beautiful thing possible. And so I did do my dharma as an artist when I saw that through to conclusion, when I saw those words, wrote them down, then allowed a poem to emerge, which occurred in a very flow state type of thing. Then the process of incanting, sharing those words, speaking those words into a microphone, you know, collaborating with my friend to create, to bring it to life, and then actually get it out in the world. Like there was a dharmic completion of this task that the muse sort of gave me, that I chose and accepted, and was like, yes, I will bring forth this transmission you gave me, called the Jasmine Petal manuscript, right? It's like, but then there's also like, so that one touched me deeply personally, but there are also like very particular ones that have cracked me. And so like, for example, I work through stuff with other people is a thing I've noticed. So the other night I was working on a poem that really kind of cracked me, and it helped me heal a relationship. And I had this experience too, where it's like my brother, actually, we just reached the 2-year anniversary of my brother's passing. And I wrote a year ago, a poem in which the first lines of the poem is, my brother passed away a year ago today. Mm-hmm. And I just started writing this poem on the 1-year anniversary of his passing, now 1 year ago. And this song came out. And that song, I remember my friend asking me, like, have you grieved your brother yet? And I didn't really know how. And I had a lot of things going on. I found out that my brother passed away within a week of finding out that my partner was pregnant, right? So a lot going on. I was in the process of creating Vibes at the time, and there was a lot of pressure economically for that to work out, such that I wasn't ending up in this like pile of debt or owing people money or whatever. So it was like I had to. And this is one thing about the wisdom of trauma, is your body prioritizes energetic resources of thought and attention and energy and feeling based on your bandwidth. Mm-hmm. So when my friend asked me that, have you grieved your brother yet? The answer was kind of yes, kind of no. And the kind of yes is, I grieve my brother enough with the time and energy and space and attention that I currently have available right now to dedicate to grief. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. A part of me was waiting until I was safe enough, until I had got enough things off my checklist. And the unfortunate thing is we can spend a lot of time in that energy. It can never be a good time to dig into the grief, right? But one night, I had gotten enough things done. I was in a good enough place. Vibes had passed. I had my daughter. And I was like, I just started writing this thing. It was a year after his passing, right? And then something about writing that poem helped me grieve my brother, and it helped me make the grief real, and it helped me put words to the grief I was experiencing, and it helped me not only put words to the grief I was experiencing, but alchemize it and make something, like, feel it first. Really let it land. Oh, that fucking sucks. That's my brother. That's my one blood brother. Like, fuck, we were kids. We grew up together. That's tragic. The world didn't support him, you know, or he had the support and didn't take it, whatever it was, you know, the neurological dysfunction, the dysfunction of society, whatever it was, just like really feel that. Art helped me create like this temple, this space for me to like feel that, really feel that, go into that. But, and then this is the crazy thing that art does. At the end of it, there's actually like, and I have yet to record this and share this poem, but I would love to, and I trust I will. Then on the other end of art is there's actually this weird celebration, because then there's this, because like I cried while I was writing that, but then like you put it out and then that even just feels good and you're like, oh shit. And then somehow my brother's legacy is like honored in that act, right? And then eventually someone hears that song and then it helps them go, and then it's the thing that they need to crack and break and feel the thing. So there's so many layers of it. There's the healing that happened for me. There's the healing that then can offer to another person. And a lot of it has, kind of wrap up this diatribe here. It's somehow connected to the feeling, the energy, the emotion that gets stuck in us. And oftentimes, all it takes is that one fucking song, that one line, the one word, the one note in that one song to just open the floodgates.
Yeah.
And all this unfelt energy and emotion moves through.
Totally. Yeah, it's a catalyst for growth, change, processing, emotions, all that.
Yeah, bro. I think you and I are going to do a little jam here,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You ready to jam?
I mean, I could talk with you for hours here, but I am also ready to jam.
Okay.
Too.
Let's do some jamming.
That'd be cool.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Zen Tempest, kicking it with Flint blade. I'm in my home, call me the sensei. This be the dojo, I got the yo flow. I got the go and go-go for the go-go. Go whoa, I don't even know I got the dough flow. I'm going into my mind, it's divine. Can you show me a sign? Yo, it's fine. The water jump in, I'm feeling kinda sorta like I'm in love with what is happening right now. I gotta do a boom, 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 pow, ow. Let it all out.
I'm in love with the moment right now. I love what we're doing and I love what we've done.
swell, swell. Not going to hell. The opposite, in fact, yo, you know that we gel. Ooh, yeah, we gel.
We're chillin', we're chillin'. We're chillin', we're chillin'. Climbing every hill. Chillin', chillin'. Breaking sweats, no worries. Come winter, gonna see some snowy flurries, but that's alright, cause it's still springtime. It's not even summer officially. Got the solstice energy coming on strong. Just a few days away. How long will it take? How long can we last? Can we take our time? Can we move a little slower? Can we get there as fast as we can? I don't know, cause I'm just a man, just a human in this world. I got a soul deep down, but in this flesh alone, I'm right at home. Right at home on earth. That's right, right at home on earth. And I was birthed with the love of my mama. Thanks, Mom.
Chin chillin'. Got a really big feeling. Flint blade in the building. And you know, little Isla B, walking around with her 2 feet. And you know that the suit beat. Ooh, this beat is too soupy. Homeboy, yo, you know that, look at the news feed. Ooh, it's coming in hot. I'm feeling kinda sorta like this, the hip hop. The shit pops, shit's real hot. Kinda sorta like an eclipse. If God put the sun and the moon over each other, and I was looking over my shoulder, my brother was chilling right there. His name was Flint Blade. And yo, welcome, welcome. This is the sensei, Zen Tempest. Zen Tempest.
Zen Tempest, can you flex this? Can you let me know what you're doing and you were at? Where you coming from? Where you going? Yeah, every single moment you're flowing so frictionless, cause you're not trying to pick a fight. We're trying to dance around and examine what's right and what's wrong and what's the difference. Put it in a song. Find that ultimate truth. Purity of heart, that's the place to start. You know what to do. Just check it out and tap it in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All about the purity of heart. All about the purity of heart. All about the purity of heart. All about the purity of
Tapping in, and I be rapping it. I see a lot of these badass distractions, and I ain't taking a beat, taking a bite. Homeboy taking the bait, taking it weight. No, homeboy, I be thinking more, I be drinking more. As in, I thank the Lord for every little bit of agua on the lips. You know I got a lot to spit, I got a lot on my head, so I'm saying it. It's like Super Saiyan, just flipping, flopping, hipping, hopping like a I was like Krillin, goddess. Got a lot of shapes and forms. I don't really know, homie, but we take the sword, we take the form, any form that we need to. I believe that when I see through you, you see through me. There's a transparency, no conspiracy, just the spirit in me, and I let it all free.
let it flow, letting that spirit go. Yo, yo, I know what you're doing, and I see the good work you do. Whatever's coming to your mind, you're saying it, cause you know what to do. We ain't playing, we're doing God's work in this place. It's so serious, never silly. Wait a sec, maybe there's some room to play a little harder. Maybe we can go farther. Maybe we can be a baller. Maybe we can bring abundance to the tribe. So serious, never silly. So serious, never silly.
sometimes. Look up a million shines, kinda sorta like the sun when it glows. And sometimes you know my soul be frozen, but I don't really let it get to me. I realize that my nature is ecstasy. Yes indeed, I flex the seed. I just let whatever is proceed from me. I am the core, I am the channel, I am the plant, homie, I am a camel. I got a whole lot of water in my back on a hump, and I'm thinking like, yo, I got a hunch that could maybe take us from A to B. I could see exactly what's great in me, what's great in you, my homeboy, baby. We just do what we have to, we do what we need to. It's see-through, my homie is perfect. I believe that every single moment is worth it. If I take the seed and I plant it below me, you know that if I take a really deep blow, deep breath into my chest, I'm gonna feel so complete, I'ma feel at rest. I'm gonna feel so great like a bamboo tree. I'ma do what I gotta do, damn easy. Man, it's me, homeboy, I manage the anxiety. When I come through, I'm heat, I freestyle off the top of the dome. And this is kinda like he's wild, homie, he's so dope. And I'm feeling so stoked off this. It's kinda sorta like, yo, when he smokes that spliff, it's kinda sorta like, kinda sorta crazy, yo. I don't even know, got a lot up in my cranium, just bouncing around like I don't really know. I'm from out of this town, I'm not here, I'm not from here, homie. I'ma walk around kinda like a drum ear, drum beard, drum up in my noggin, homie. Yo, you know that I get it, I'm hip hopping.
Hey, you got a little drum in your beard. I want to check that out.
Appreciate that. Nobody told me. What? How dare they? Drum gear. It's weird. It's umbilical. My homie, it's unbiblical. The way I look at all of these dumb, silly fools. Like, yo, is you thinking about it? Is you feeling proud, homie? Is you feeling doubting? If you is feeling doubt, how about you think for a minute before your mouth starts opening, saying some ridiculous things? I'm like, dude, how about you just listen and sing? I'm like, dude, how about you give all that you are, shoot it up into the cosmos like a star? How about you act like a giraffe instead of like Jafar? It's incredible that you are even alive, that you even exist, yo, it's really a vibe. If you just take the risk and you do what you need to do, it's kinda sorta crazy and kinda unbelievable. You know that love is the secret glue, and I believe in you.
I believe in you too, cause love is the secret though. You know that's true. You know where we go.
Yo. And it's a magical abracadabra, it's like a billy goat. I don't even know what I'm saying, it's like a miracle. Merry-go round and don't stop. Homeboy, yo, I found the sound that goes pop like boom pop. My homie, you do stop and you don't stop. My homie is hip-hop and my throat box is speaking in large shocks. Ooh, like a shockwave. Homie, the sensei, the earthquake deep. And you know that the Zen say whatever he needs to say. I speak in a whole lot of secret ways. He's the game. He's the game, he's a secret maze. And I don't even know, homie, I believe the waves are just here to take the sandcastle back to the ground. And you know, I was walking back there and I found him sitting on the ground, astounded. Kinda like, yo, what the fuck is going down, kid? And he was like, there's something in the sky. Is it a meteor or maybe it's one of those like, I don't know, unidentified flying objects? I was like, homie, is it wild to think that aliens exist? I mean, on one hand, it kinda sorta is, but on the other hand, like it's kinda sorta common sense. Are we really the only people in this whole galactic, you know, universal place that actually has a face and can actually taste and make sense? I bet we're the only being in this entire galaxy that has to pay rent. It doesn't make sense to me.
Get bent, go pay rent. Gotta flip the system upside down. Gotta turn your frown upside down while you're at it, cause smiles are going around for miles around. For miles around, I'm seeing smiles from miles around. We're gonna get out of town, we're gonna go in the country. Yeah, that's where you're gonna see me, out in the rural hills, in the trees. Gonna see me on the mountain tops. We're gonna see me everywhere.
Yo, homie got the old coupon. I tried to use it, they was like, this is 2 days old. And I was like, dude, heck no, this is a brand new coupon. Came in the mail, like today, homeboy. Y'all is snails. You thinking that I'm slow, but I'm really, really not. Yo, you know I got the flow, and you know I smoke pot occasionally. Even though government agencies would rather me not do that thing, and that's okay, but I've got to sing in accordance with my own true nature, because guess what? There's this thing called the Creator, and the Creator made a plant that I could smoke, and so sometimes I smoke that plant. It's no joke, it's just actually exactly what's happening. And you know that sometimes when I come in, I'm rapping and got this faculty, this capacity up in my mind to just make some words, put them together, they rhyme, and it's kind of sort of wild if you ask me. A lot of people think kind of classy. A lot of people think I got the rap scene all up in the game, but they ain't even seen half these mad skills that I got up in my brainstem. Homie, up and look around, looks like mayhem. Looks kinda like, homie, you could say when they be pouring tea, but you know me, I thirsty forever, bro. Yo, peep the metronome. It's like boom to the dome dome. Boom boom.
Are you thirsty forever or are you always quenched? Where you gonna go? Gonna sit on a bench? Gonna do what you gotta do? Take a rest? Gonna take a pause? Gonna get the best of your life when you get it? Where are you going? And I love this vibe, this will keep on flowing. And it's just feeling right, it's feeling so tight, feeling so tight and good right night. Good night, good night, good day, good day, good week, good week. Have a nice life, that's what's up, that's what we're gonna do. Tight, tight. Good night, good night, good day, good day, good week. Have a nice life, that's what's up, that's what we're gonna do. Tight, tight. Good night, good night, good day. Zen Tempest in his house.
Hey.
Sounds. Man,
Hey.
that's good, man. That feels good.
Yo, you're talking about the aliens, and
Yeah.
so the other day, I've been getting some like really random messages from my Aunt Nancy, and I think she watches the podcast.
Things
So
the aliens.
shout out to Aunt Nancy.
Hey.
You know, she knows that I've been like posting about Jesus and stuff, and even before that, like a while back, I saw this old message that I never responded to. She's like, "Read the Bible, Flint." Anyway, the latest thing that she sent me, she was like, you know, she's telling me like God is above all, and God created everything, even aliens on other planets.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like funny to like include the aliens in like this
Well,
this
you can't.
this like God spiel that she was giving me. Like,
If God is the
aliens too.
all-knowing, every creator of all things, and aliens exist, there's no other. How else? Is there some other sub-creator that makes the aliens, but then God covers and manages everything else? It's like just the aliens are just the one semi-god's
They were
jurisdiction.
excluded from the main creation.
Or maybe it's like a multiverse situation where like the god of another realm created aliens.
I won't go there.
I'm just pontificating.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I don't
leave the
know.
multiverse to the Hollywood movie
Yeah.
creators.
I'm pretty sure there has to be like a singular source of all creation. You know?
It would help the brain to keep from exploding,
Yeah.
to think of it that way.
I don't feel like there could be anything other than like an essential coherence. Like I like to think about life as like this incredibly multifaceted, multi-layered equation. But no matter how just ridiculously, like even just the equation involved in like this house, in other words, like all the light sources, points, and the energy ins and outs, like all the equations happening inside of you. It all has to, there has to be an equal sign in order for any of it to exist. You know what I mean? like in order for our entire experience of life to amount to an experience versus a lack of experience, right? Like a nothingness. There has to be an equal sign at the center of the whole thing, because that's how, and that's how we're here right now. So to me, I think of God as like the equal sign, right? It's like the organizing principle that allows any of what we experience as consciousness or reality to like even exist. So it's like you take that away, the whole thing just like.
Right. I like that. The equal sign, the balancing. Good thought. Good words.
Yeah.
Good words. Should we do another jam?
I would love that.
Right.
I feel like it's cool to get just like I just noticed on that last one, just the arc, like I'm feeling the energy build. I would love to get one more in there now that I've started to kind of get the motor running.
Start that one over.
Tasty
bite of the mic, yo, it's like Midas, I might, just turn the mic to gold, homie, I light my soul up, I don't know but love and trust, like every single day, I realize life could happen a million different ways, I'm in a maze of choices, but every single day I evade disappointments, because I stay so blessed, let the gratitude digress, homie, I just invest my attention into the things that bless me. I realize that every single second is sexy and sensually beckoning me, I let it be free. I evolve in the road, homeboy, I just get lost in the soul. I realize it's impossible to know what's gonna happen next, so I just go bravely into the unknown. Homeboy, I'm listening to the drum roll, kinda sorta like, really kinda dope. Overflow and overdose of the soul, bro. Homeboy, I'm feeling like I'm a hobo. I do this thing, it's called the Flow Dojo. It's where I let the people flow, yo, bro.
Bow to your sensei. Meet your respect in the air. Bow to your sensei. To the Zen Tempest.
Yes.
Yeah. Walking in the home, and you're already home. Wherever you gone, where you gonna go? I don't know. Let me know when you get there, 'cause I wanna see how you doing out there. In the sea, in the air, on the land. Let me see the true you. I wanna know what you do. Show me the true you, 'cause I wanna know what's true to you.
True you, doo-doo, the voodoo, homeboy, this is true blue. It's in the opposite is red. It's the heart as in the opposite of head. It's in the opposite of yes. Is no or is it? I don't really know, bro. I'm a glow. Even in the darkness, I realize my life is like a mosh pit. It's like a marsh just in the middle of the night. Even though I realize that this shit is tight, kinda sorta like if you was in the middle seat in a flight. You know what I'm saying? In between that guy and that girl, the one who sneezes and the one who believes that the one who believes that everything they think is something that they gotta share up in your breeze and
You know what, bro? Been so many places, been covering so much ground. We've got so much, so far yet to go. And I know that we're gonna learn lessons along the way, 'cause it's all about that journey. And when we get there to the final destination, it's gonna be just fine and dandy. And I'm feeling so handy with my gear and my beats, yeah. But sometimes I don't even need any of that, 'cause I got it right within me. All within me.
Hey, yeah, yo, okay, 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 yo, okay,
All within. It's
Okay.
all inside. You got everything in your mind.
yo, okay, okay,
I agree.
okay,
Yep. Just fine.
okay.
Nothing wrong in this room.
This might be the last flow of the podcast, so I gotta go in like, oh yeah, can't stop now. Feeling kinda sorta like I gotta take a bow, like, whoo, this was a really fun time. Really bright, just like the sunshine. Yo, I spit a couple dope lines, also I spit a couple dumb lines, and that's life. It's a fight, it's in a balance, point like a knife. Half this and half that, half dope and half whack. Kinda sorta like I've been walking around in a hazmat suit, but the other half of me is too cool for school, so I'm a chill bag. Feeling like Bilbo with my bag. Bilbo Baggins, as in I'm that slick like a drag in.
Like a dragon, you spit hot fire on the mic. And that's what I like about you, my man. 'Cause you're always bringing it smooth and tight. And you're giving what you got in your hand. You got the microphone, and you're taking it home. You're taking me home with you too. Yeah, I like your whole vibe, and I like your family. 'Cause you do what you do, and it's true.
Thanks, dog. Thanks for having me on this dope podcast, Awaken to Love. It was like taking some drugs, except there were no drugs involved. There was a couple hugs. They were nice hugs. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. It was pretty cool. You opened your heart to me, and I opened my heart to you. You're a really cool dude, Flint Blade. That's true. I mean that.
You really do? Aww.
I do.
So sweet,
It's true.
so sweet.
I like you.
So sweet to say, and I see your feet, and I know that you're walking many miles a day, and That's such a noble act to do without a car. Gotta get somewhere, gotta go far, but sometimes you can just stay home. Yeah.
I know I gotta stop, but I can't stop rapping, because this rapping shit, it be my passion. Looking back at the past, and I realized that a lot of that whack shit happened for a reason, you see, as in it was so perfectly orchestrated to make here right now exactly how it is. It's sacred like wow, like how could it have happened any differently? I'm feeling kinda sorta like I got the missing key. This the intuition, the infinity. I've been living in this vivid stream, and it just keeps on flowing through me. This poetry that keeps growing through me, and I know if I go with the beat, then it will take me where I need to be. Like, whoo. I feel, whoo. I feel free. Hey.
Feeling so free.
Hey, 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 hey,
Feeling so
hey,
free.
hey, hey. And my daughter just walked into the house, quiet as a mouse. Super, super cute. Yo, do you wanna come over here and be on camera for a minute? You cute little baby, you're so freaking sweetie. Come, come, come. You know that I need to get you on this camera. Cutie little baby.
Got a baby
Her
in
name's
the
Hala.
house.
Oh
She's
yeah.
got a lady in the house.
Yeah.
She's got a baby on her blouse. She's a baby.
She's a mama.
So fresh and clean.
It's my daughter. Her name is Ala. And the mama, her name is Rania. And they're super cool. Ala, do you wanna say some words in the mic? Oh, she's like, nah, I'm good. That's cool, girl. I appreciate your boundaries. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 woo! Yeah, girl, I like you. You're nice. Yeah, your voice is good. We love you.
Lots of love for the babies in the world. Love for the mamas too. Love for the papas and the people that are raising you as a baby. Cause you know that you got so much in store in your life. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you do with your life. But take your time cause you're so young. And there's so much to do. There's so much to experience. And there's so much life to live. Don't rush it, don't cause a fuss. But if you need to, let it out, yeah, let it out. Let's hear you, yeah. Ooh, oh. Ooh, oh. Ooh, oh.
Yeah. Isla, you're super cool. I like your smile, girl. Sweetie. Okay. Thanks for the podcast, Flint. Bye. Bye. Can you say bye?
Bye, everybody. It's time for us to go wake up and be in love. Awaken to Love podcast, episode 6.